Welcome to the Positive Pants Podcast. Mindset, motivation, and inspiration to help you find your positive pants. Let go of negative thinking and stop living for the weekend. With your host, Fran Excel.
So welcome to the show. As always, it's Fran Excel Mindset Coach, helping you find your very own pair of positive pants so you can get out of your own way and live a life that you love. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm very grateful you've chosen to put me in your earbuds today. Please do hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything, and do leave me a review. I love reading them, and it really helps me get found by other people who need to hear what I share. I'd also love you to email me your mindset and productivity questions or topics you'd love me to cover to hello@franexcel.com, because I know a lot of you think I'm inside your heads because you tell me all the time. But if I don't know what you need, I can't give it to you. So let me know. How to overcome the comparison gremlin. So I obviously recently asked what I could help with the most right now, and dealing with comparison definitely came up the most. It wasn't a surprise. It comes up a lot for clients, my friends in the online space, and in my feed, and myself, of course. I'm not immune. But society today thrives off comparison. You only need to look at your screen time and how long you spend scrolling social media. What are you actually looking for? What do you actually spend your time doing when you're there? It's likely that you're comparing yourself to someone or something. But firstly, it's totally normal. We do it all the way from being teeny tiny little kids. Yeah, I certainly always compared my chip portion sizes to my big brother. I'm all for equality, if not tipping it in my favor, but that's by the by. It's another one of our lovely little protection mechanisms, so we can work out what or who is a threat to us, in inverted commas. Obviously, what this meant in caveman days versus now is very, very different, but that mechanism remains in our reptilian brain. You know, it's how we work out where we fit in society. Psychologist Leon Festinger noted that there's two distinct types of comparison, and he did a whole study on social comparison theory. So if you want to read more, have a Google. Now, upward and downward, they're the two ways. We use it as a way to make accurate assessments of where we are. So our skills, abilities, values, beliefs, everything. We literally compare everything. And as humans, we're always looking to make sense of the world around us. And one of the ways that we do that is comparison, working out where we fit in the pecking order, if you will. Now, essentially what it is we're judging ourselves against other people, often through the lens of other people's metrics too. That can be a bit of a killer. For example, we judge ourselves based on what we value and want for ourselves. So would you judge me on the arch of my foot? Probably not. But if you were a ballet dancer, you probably would. Yeah? It's human nature and fundamental to human existence. So let me say now, you're not going to get rid of it completely. But when you can understand comparison, take a step back and look at it with a little more awareness, its power dissipates. You know, it stops being such a negative thing. It stops having power over our own behavior, actions, and beliefs of ourselves. Now, I speak from experience here. I was a terror for comparing myself to people for most of my life. Now, if it's in front of my face, it's still natural to compare, of course, but I remind myself of a few little things. And I have lots of ways to avoid it in the first place, some of which I am going to share with you now, you lucky people. So it's kind of basically a lovely little method of torture for ourselves, right? However, it is a two-way street. So when we think of comparisonitis, we often think about the ways we compare ourselves to others who we perceive to be better than us at the moment. But we do it the other way too. So this is the upward and the downward comparison that I mentioned. When we compare ourselves and think we're the ones doing better, it gives us a boost to our self-esteem. That's the downward. But it does keep us in that cycle and habit of judgment. So it often doesn't help in the long run. It's something to be aware of. It's kind of like a perpetuating cycle of negativity, because let's be honest, it depends on other people being in a worse position than us, right? So the trouble is, we're not actually comparing reality with reality most of the time, which is where it can become tricky. So there's a few things that I would like you to remember if you catch yourself in a comparison loop. So there's Insta versus reality. We all love this one. There are a ton of things that people don't tell you. Yeah, it's the highlight reel. So you never really have the full picture. You know, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out this year in particular about people who are putting one thing out about themselves, but actually the reality behind the scenes is very different. You know, on social media, people can say what they want, true or not. And it can be giving you completely unrealistic standards to live by and a very skewed version of things. You know, we see this talked about a lot when it comes to social media, magazines, editing apps, airbrushing, all of these things. It's not reality. So it's about being able to look at things at face value and understand that there could be more going on than actually meets the eye. Yeah, we're all human and we all have struggles. All of us. At some point or another, we all have struggles. Yeah, but the whole Insta life is this perfection that we see. It's a persona. Yeah. Now, the next thing I want you to remember is not all comparison is a bad thing. Yeah, you can use it as motivation to fuel you to push forward. You know, it can even show you some really great insight into what you actually want. You know, feelings of comparison often come hand in hand with envy, jealousy. But instead of looking at it as a bad thing, be excited that your emotions are showing you what you want. Yeah, if you get a pang of jealousy for something and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't know I wanted that. Yeah, take it away from yourself. Take the emotion out of it. It also gives you evidence of what's possible, right? It can actually increase your self-esteem and your self-belief. You know, if other people can do it, so can you. All of these things, you get to choose how you use it. You get to choose how you compare. Yeah, how do you use it? Now, the next thing I want you to remember, there is no such thing as an overnight success. There really isn't. People like to let you think that without, you know, detailing the years of slog or struggle it took to get them there. It's valuable to understand this. Yeah. You know, I was at an event, I was at Upreneur earlier in the month, and Hal Elrod posted his overnight success, and it was 10 years. Yeah, from when he released the book, and it's sold the same amount, tiny. Go back on my Instagram at I'm Fran XL, and you will find it, because it's so valuable to know that. And the more people that share this, the better it is for everyone. Next, comparison is in itself a focus on lack. Yeah, let that sink in. What you think you don't have yet. So what does that help with? Self-fulfilling prophecy. We all know now that where you put your focus is where you see your results. So shift it to all the good stuff that's possible and away from what you don't have yet. And the next thing to think about is we are making it mean something about us. So what are you making that comparison mean about you? You know, that you're not good enough? What story is it causing you to tell yourself about what's possible for you? Notice it so you can consciously challenge it, which is the fun bit. Next thing, comparison can be addictive. Yeah, we get positive hits of dopamine every single time we compare ourselves positively to someone else. So there's no wonder why we do it, you know. But this can be a double-edged sword when this doesn't go in our favor. And I think Instagram taking away the like feature is a huge step in the right direction for this. You know, I love my podcast because people only know my downloads if I tell them. There's no vanity metrics here. You know, I love it. I know that I'm getting tons of downloads and thousands of downloads every month, and it's awesome. But nobody else does. No one's comparing their podcast to my podcast. It's going back to following who you resonate with. Yeah? It's not about how many other people following them. It's who you resonate with. There's nothing else to it. And that's amazing. So it's no surprise to me. That's why I love it. So the next thing, comparison can make people really biatchy. Yeah? You see it all the time in the online space. People slagging off competitors, talking badly about people in a bid to make them feel better about themselves. It's not cool. It can even go as far as full-on bullying. But it all comes from a place of comparison and insecurity. And usually it's nothing to do with the other person in the first place. So be the bigger person and don't do it. Yeah. Now, it's also worth remembering that for every person you're comparing yourself to, somebody could be comparing themselves to you. We all start somewhere. Yeah. And the next thing is, you don't know their support network. Quite often, all the people who are at the top, or perceived to be at the top, are in masterminds together, or they're friends. They collaborate. It's really easy to look at it and think that they've done it all by themselves, but it's often not the case. But you don't know that. So build your own support network. So how can you actually combat the comparison gremlin? Well, an easy peasy one, take a break from social media. My biggest tip, and the thing that's had the biggest effect for me, is unfollow anyone who makes you feel bad in any way, and anyone who you keep tabs on to make sure that you're ahead. Don't keep tabs on someone saying, I want to know what they're doing. Unfollow anyone who makes you feel bad in any way. Remember, Insta versus real life. Remember that what you see is never the full story. Yeah. Comparison is perspective. Remember that you can compare downwards with empathy. It's not always about making yourself feel better. It can be something that makes you feel grateful for what you have. Rather than focusing on what you don't, feel grateful for what you have. When somebody's in a worse position than you, and it's something that makes you feel truly, truly grateful for what you've got. And also, don't compare your 10th step to someone else's 10,000th. Obviously. I say obviously, but it is the number one thing that people always do. They're comparing their 10th step to someone else's 10,000th. Yeah. So my favorite thing is stay in your own lane. Do your thing. It doesn't really matter what everyone else is doing. Pick who you want to learn from, ditch the rest. And once you create a habit of doing that, you're able to think so much more rationally about where you're at. In whatever area of your life, you're making comparisons in your job, business, family, friends, your weight, whatever it is. When you can look at it with aware and rational eyes, you can see all the technicolor of your situation instead of just focusing on the black and white, which isn't true anyway. It helps you be more resilient too, to look at all sides of the coin. Yeah. It's a much, much happier way to live. And you'll probably find yourself that you actually get far more done because you aren't creating stories about yourself, about your abilities, or about other people. And you start to just follow your own gut and your own intuition and your own values and your own feelings more. It makes you a lot more independent. And if people want to compare themselves to you and be negative, it says way more about them than it does about you. It's cool. Remember empathy over anger. Yeah, it's a little philosophy of mine, because the people who behave badly towards others are not happy people. And how about we just all stop the judgment of ourselves and others and try and lift each other up instead? I mean, imagine if everyone did that. I know it's unlikely, and it is human nature to compare, but picture what it would be like if that happened. Ooh. So how can you make a difference? Yeah. So, if you got value from this and you know in your gut that now is the time to step up and start rewiring your thinking and changing things for yourself, then book in a free discovery call so we can work out what needs to happen to get you from where you're at right now to the action-taking success you know you can be. And if you want my eyes and ears on your problems, I work with people one-on-one and through my Proactive Pants Mastermind. So stop waiting for if and when and decide to change things now, because you can. And as always, I hope that was helpful. So any questions, just let me know. And as always, I will see you next week. Bye.